In this video, I'm telling the full story of the trash storm arc from Gachiakuta. If you're an anime-only watcher, this is your spoiler warning. Stick around if you want the complete breakdown from start to finish. The cleaners head back from the Forbidden Zone after learning angels can cross a boundary and finding a Jinky with the same symbol as Rudo's gloves. On the ride home, Engine is driving like always, mostly because everyone else is terrible at it. Rio's still injured, which makes Rudo realize Remlin's charm only heals deadly wounds, not small ones. Engine decides they should stop at a doctor before returning to HQ. They head into an alley Rudo vaguely remembers. Inside is Alice Stilzer, a tough old doctor with a loud voice and zero patience. She's treated body contamination since the early days, which is why her voice is left up. Rudo thinks she's cool. Alice's grandkids, Isha and August, arrive, and Rudo realizes they're all family. After the checkup, the group heads out. Rudo notices heaven moving overhead, and Engine explains that trash often falls from the sky. Many people have died from it, and lots of folks blame heaven for everything. Rudo still can't remember exactly how he and the angel crossed the boundary. Engine then gets a call from Semu, telling them to use the back door because HQ is infested with vermin. When they arrive, they see a huge crowd of armed marauders outside demanding the sky person, Rudo. Engine activates a secret back entrance, and inside HQ, Semu handles everything herself. A marauder fires an RPG, but Semu dodges, catches it, and throws it right back. After that, she beats the entire group by herself. Quick, clean, no effort. The marauders panic while Semu drags one by the hair and asks how they learned about Rudo. She already knows something bigger is coming. We then cut to the Vandals, the real dangerous group, and their mysterious leader decides it's time to move. Later at a restaurant called Dundelis, Engine and the cleaners are trying to relax. Rudo complains that they're too laid back after an attack, but Engine says eating together helps him stay grounded. They're used to danger by now. Semi only works as a receptionist because her eye's ability is for seeing, not fighting barren beasts, and she actually just wants an office job. Engine warns Rudo that the people coming next are unique. Team Child, Gita Heavy Fantasia, the girl in a dinosaur onesie, Dia Santa, the baby-faced guy with a pacifier, and their handler, Brat Santa. Gita immediately pesters Rudo about heaven and kaiju. While Rudo's trying to distance himself from them, a random guy at a nearby table starts talking to him about the Vandals. He warns Rudo that the Vandals' new leader will steal whatever he wants. Then he casually shows off a pair of boots. The boots belong to Amo. Rudo freezes. The man then reveals himself as a Vandal leader, and his partner Katan opens a portal using his manhole Jinky. Rudo and the cleaners all jump into attack, but the leader calmly dodges. Katan's portal sucks Rudo in, and the others too, despite Engine grabbing Rudo's leg. The supporters outside are left behind, confused and unpaid. After a long warp through darkness, the cleaners drop into a pitch-black room. Rudo's furious. The Vandals definitely did something to Amo. A light turns on, showing the Vandals facing them from across a room full of holes. It's a tense standoff. Engine calls out the Vandals, asking what game they're planning. The Vandal leader checks his watch and says the cleaners aren't as relaxed as Rudo thinks. They've been guarding him non-stop. He also says he predicted the extras would be here. Then something bursts from the floor, a giant wave of muddy trash. It sweeps through the room. Rudo almost gets swallowed, but the Vandal leader suddenly grabs him and pulls him aside, before tossing him to the ground. The others get scattered by the current. Engine rides it on his umbrella like a tiny boat, telling everyone not to fight it. There's a fork in the trash stream, and the group gets split. Before separating, Zonka yells that he's going to kill the Vandal leader. When the stream finally settles, we return to Rudo, still shaken, while the Vandal leader stands over him, clearly not done. Rudo gets separated from his friends after the mud trash swallows everyone. He tries asking the Vandals' leader what his teammates went, but the leader basically tells him it doesn't matter. They followed him here, and he doesn't like wasting things. He sends 4 Vandals underground through manholes. Jabber taunts Rudo, laughs like a maniac, and disappears too. Now Rudo is stuck face to face with the Vandal boss, Zodel Typhon, whose whole vibe turns instantly dark. He asks Rudo what Amo really means to him. At the same time, elsewhere, Zanka gets attacked by Jabber popping out of a manhole. Zodel introduces himself and calmly invites Rudo to bring down the heavens with him. Rudo is shocked. He doesn't even know how to react. They briefly share a strange vision of the heavens collapsing, and Zodel asks if Rudo saw it too. Rudo's shaken, but Zodel keeps pushing, saying it's not about heaven itself, but about destroying the people they each hate. This brings back Rudo's anger towards the disciples above, the citizens who threw him away, and especially the one who killed Reg. Rudo fires back and demands to know what Zodel did to Amo and the other cleaners, but Zodel dodges and tells Rudo to answer first. That's how conversations work. Rudo's rattled. Talking to Zodel feels like being trapped. He considers grabbing some leftover trash as emergency ammo, but Zodel suddenly asks if he really thinks the cleaners can get him back to the heavens. Zodel says they weren't even meant to help him. Rudo simply latched onto them. Meanwhile, we jump to Rio, who got dumped near a field of windmills. She's annoyed, covered in trash, and yelling for her teammates when a manhole opens behind her. A Vandal girl pops out saying, "Meow," and immediately insults her. Rio realizes she has to fight one-on-one. Across the battlefield, each cleaner has been dropped in front of their own opponent. Rio versus Nortehuamos, Zanka versus Jabber, Engine versus a shy boy hiding behind furniture, Brock and Dia versus Bundus, Gita wandering around talking to a cockroach.
Jabber treats the whole fight like a game. The moment the match starts, he bombards Zanka non-stop. Zanka defends well, but can't counterattack. When Jabber burns his own hand in boiling liquid, Zanka is horrified. Jabber loves hurting himself, because his left claw copies whatever poisons he exposes himself to. Now Jabber's claws drip boiling acid. Zanka dodges and fights smart, flipping chunks of ground and trying to bury him. But of course, Jabber doesn't die. He bursts out of the rubble transformed, with giant mutated claws, laughing like it's the best day ever. He demands Zanka bring out his real self, insisting they're the same kind of monster. Zanka stays calm and says there's nothing to hide. Then the scene shifts to Rio versus Nirday. At first, Rio aims to land a clean slash, and even cuts a bit of Norday's hair, but when she tries again, she suddenly collapses, her body goes numb. Nirday explains her hair builds up constant static electricity because of her plastic comb Jinky. Rio's scissors are metal, so the charge hits her instantly. Each hair strand is like an electric trap. Rio tries to move, but her whole body is buzzing painfully. Meanwhile, between Engine and the boy, Engine tries being friendly, but the boy just stares. Engine wonders why they didn't gang up on him, but stuck him with only one opponent. The boy silently thinks Engine looks cool. Then between Dia, Brat versus Bundus. Dia is glaring intensely, and Brat scolds him for maybe getting wrinkles. Bundus sits calmly on a car, watching them like they're a TV show. He asks casual questions about their family, their ages, birthdays, totally normal stuff, which throws Brock off. Bundus finally activates his Jinky. A metal piece on his shoulder releases creepy human finger-shaped things that hop like frogs. He says he wants information, specifically about the cleaner's boss, Corvus. We cut to Corvus back at base where Semiyu rushes in, reporting that Rudo and 7 others have been captured through some warp ability. Corvus gives orders to mobilize everyone and says he'll find info through one informant. Back in the fight, Bundus keeps asking Brock weirdly harmless questions. Corvus' favorite food, age, hobbies, how long he's been with the cleaners, stuff Brock barely knows. Brock starts sweating, unsure what Bundus is really after. Bundus finally offers his info in exchange. If the cleaners lose, the Vandals plan to offer them to aberrant beasts, creatures they created. He also says Corvus is hiding his true identity, and even the Vandals can't figure him out. Brock and Dia are confused and uneasy. While all this happens, Rudo and Zodel's conversation gets heavier. Zodel talks about evolution in the abyss, how even trash and corpses from above change the creatures here. He says that despite Rudo being from the sky and him being from the abyss, they have the same eyes, and Jabber even claimed they have the same scent. Zodel wants to confirm it himself. Something about Rudo fascinates him. Rudo gets mad and tells him plainly he's going back to the heavens for his own reasons, not because someone like Zodel invites him. He won't be lumped together with the Vandals, and Zodel shouldn't drag the cleaners' friends into this.
Zodel keeps talking to Rudo about what normal even means in the abyss. He says some people down there actually worship the trash that falls from above, even if it crushes them or poisons them. From the outside, it's insane, but for them, it becomes routine. He explains that when madness becomes routine, people treat it like common sense, and anyone who questions it is called a heretic. To prove his point, Zodel casually picks up a cockroach and eats it, saying a sudden shock can snap people out of poisonous normal. The same thing happened to Rudo when Jabber shocked him and awakened his Jinky. Zodel says whoever Jabber is fighting now will either awaken or die. We cut to the fight. Jabber is going all out against Zanka. Jabber unleashes his stormy weather technique, tearing up the ground and forcing Zanka back. Zanka realizes he can't win with normal moves, but he still refuses to back down. During the fight, Zanka remembers what it's like meeting real geniuses, people like Jabber. He hates how average he feels next to them, but beating a genius is exactly why he keeps fighting. Jabber corners him using his poison claws. Zanka bites the claws to stop them inches from his face, then forces Jabber's arm aside and counters. He stabs Jabber in the ribs with his staff and smacks him away. Zanka finally gets some momentum, landing a few solid hits. But Jabber still manages to cut Zanka's leg with his left claw, a claw coated in 3 poisons. One numbs, one intoxicates, and one is a toxic sludge he picked up earlier. Zanka collapses, barely hanging on. Flashback begins. We learn about Zanka's past in the Hell's Guardsman training program. He comes from a respected Niji family, and all his life he trains hard to live up to the family name. At the academy, everyone whispers about a new prodigy joining them. The girl's name is Hio, someone from the slums with ridiculous talent. In their first big survival exercise, she destroys everyone, including Zonga, with ease. Even the teacher praises her. Everyone either hates her or tries to copy her. A few students even start imitating her hairstyle. Zanka pretends to take the loss calmly, but inside he's furious. When he's alone, he breaks down. He can't stand that all his hard work still wasn't enough. He runs into Hio at the water station, and she asks him what the point of the golden chair even is. To her, being called special doesn't matter. That simple question hits him harder than the fight. During the weapon selection class, everyone picks strong, flashy weapons. Zanka, desperate to seem unique and genius-like, picks a random old staff that accidentally got mixed in with the real weapons. Even the instructor looks confused. Meanwhile, Hio chooses a simple, plain blade. Realizing how stupid he looks, Zanka spirals. He climbs into a well with the staff and just sits there for 3 days calling himself trash and thinking about giving up. That's when Engine, yes, the real Engine, happens to walk by with Rio. Engine drops him simple advice. If you're average, then surpass geniuses as an average person. The fact that you're still gripping that lame old staff means you haven't truly given up. Those words hit Zanka like a spark. He climbs out emotionally, not physically, and regains the drive to fight. Flashback ends. Back in the present, Zanka is deep in Jabber's hallucination poison. Jabber is enjoying watching Zanka trip out. Both of them look completely deranged. The scene then shifts to Guta, the little girl cleaner. She crossed through a tunnel after a cockroach and finds herself alone in a weird rocky area. She spots something horrifying. A huge spiked object with 3 tools stabbed into it. 2 knives and a shovel, all still attached to a severed hand. She freezes in terror. Meanwhile, Jabber drags Zanka along, talking about preparing a meal and offering for his boss. Before he gets far, something flashes. A bullet tears through Jabber's leg. He stops and looks around angrily, wondering who shot him. The story cuts to Engine, who hears gunfire from somewhere in the tunnels. His vandal aboard also hears it and panics, complaining he needs to hurry or he'll miss whatever's happening next. He still hasn't figured out how to even start the fight with Engine. Fu introduces himself to Engine and awkwardly begs him to let him win first because Zodel ordered him to finish his fight earlier or suffer consequences. Engine politely but firmly refuses. Before they can argue more, we switch back to Rio versus Nirday. Rio is still recovering from that electric shock, but she's smiling like she figured something out. Nirday attacks it with her electrified hair again, but Rio keeps dodging with wind-assisted moves. Nirday gets irritated that Rio disappeared and starts yelling for her to come out. Rio finally pops up behind her and tries to cut her hair, only to miss completely. Nirday dodges, knees her in the gut, and the fight gets nastier. Nirday explains her fighting style. She used to be part of a warrior tribe called Serializd, and her long hair is basically connected to her nervous system, like it's another limb. Her electricity only lasts 1 to 2 minutes though. Rio realizes that explains why her power dips. They go hand to hand, trading kicks, punches, flips, neither landing anything big. Eventually, Rio nails her in the face. Nirday gets furious and blasts her again with her electrified hair. Rio backflips, throws her scissors, and keeps fighting barehanded. Eventually, Nirday notices Rio moving strangely and asks her about her past. Rio ignores the question, and they keep fighting. Until Rio suddenly reaches into her jacket, and the gunshot echoes. Nirday falls, bleeding from a gunshot wound. Rio sits on top of her with the gun pointed at her face, and finally admits she used to be a hitman. She had promised herself not to kill anymore, not even stain her scissors, but Nirday was too strong and her friends needed her. She warns Nirday she won't die, but she also won't be able to move anymore. Then Rio asks where the others are being held. As Rio wanders, a flashback hits, her early moments with Engine, Rudo, and Zanka. She removes her jacket and her boot extensions, revealing she was the mysterious shooter who blasted Jabber earlier. She shoots him repeatedly. He collapses, full of bullet holes. Rio assumes he's still alive because he's built like a tank, but he's totally unconscious. Zanka is nearby, poisoned and shaking, and Rio quickly picks him up so she can get him help. Meanwhile, Keidon opens a manhole under Rudo and pulls him into a strange underground space where Zodel's waiting. Zodel starts lecturing Rudo about the Watchmen series, his gloves, Zodel's coat, Amo's boots. He explains it all part of extremely rare, insanely powerful Jinky once worn by a single human. Zodel experiments on these pieces to create trash beasts. The huge creature they're standing inside is one of those experiments. Zodel tells Rudo that he wants to break through the barrier between this world and the heavens using this imitation trash beast. Rudo is overwhelmed, especially when he realizes Regal also had a Watchman-type item. Zodel goes on about how only someone who has lost certain essential human parts can handle the Watchmen series without going insane. Rio realizes he might be missing something inside himself. Zodel gets fired up, saying that if one person could collect every Watchman piece, they'd have unstoppable power. He shows how his failed experiment with a fake Watchman item created the cocoon-like organism that turned into the trash beast they're in. The beast rises, unfolding gigantic wings shaking the whole underground. Guta, who was hiding, overhears everything and excitedly calls it a battle of monsters. Rudo freaks out because he didn't even notice she was there. Back with Engine and Fu, the ground shakes violently. Fu panics, begging Zodel to wait because he hasn't even started his own fight yet. Engine casually starts walking off. Fu gets even more freaked out because Engine refuses to fight. Engine says he wants to find his friends, not waste time here. Desperate, Fu blurts out that they're inside a trash beast. Engine freezes, shocked. He wasn't expecting that at all. Fu tries to get him to stay and fight, but Engine completely loses interest. Meanwhile, we cut to Brat, Dia, and Bundus. They feel the shaking too. Brat thinks Dia's tapping his foot again and causing many earthquakes, but Bundus explains the truth. They're inside the trash beast headed straight for the sphere. Brat finally realizes, screams, and Dia activates his Jinky. Back to Engine one last time, he just starts laughing.
The moment he heard Trash Beast, he realized things were way more serious. He holds his umbrella like he's ready and asks if the janitors forgot who they are. All around, the scattered cleaners answer the same way. Why don't we start cleaning up? Outside, we see the huge aberrant beast whipping up a massive storm of trash. Then we jump back to Dia, Brat, and Bundus facing off. Dia and Brat share a look. They're ready. Their Jinkies transform. Dia's pacifier, Centurion, and Brat's bandana, Cross. Bundus notices their hype and assumes it's because they heard about the trash beast. He also realizes something odd. None of them are wearing masks, yet they're fine. Dia just slurps on his pacifier. Bundus tries to drag out a speech about their goals, but while he's rambling, Brat wraps Cross around Dia's waist and suddenly flings Dia into the air like a fastball. Bundus is shocked. Why throw your own teammate? Dia rockets past him toward the wall. Bundus thinks there's no way Dia is trying to punch through it, but Dia slams his fist into the wall anyway, and it does basically nothing. Total silence. He just keeps punching like nothing happened. Bundus tells Brat to stop the kid. This is pointless. Brat disagrees, wraps Bundus with Cross, and says adults who hold kids back are the worst kind. He tells them to listen for the sound of success. Right on cue, cracking noises echo. The wall is splitting. Dia's punches get stronger, cracks spreading everywhere.
Brat explains, Dia can steal strength by repeatedly striking something. Soon, Dia punches a hole through layer 1 of the wall, though more layers remain because the beast has a crazy thick hide. Brat didn't expect it to take this long, but Dia's energy keeps climbing. Bundus starts laughing. Dia's basically draining the beast itself. He decides to step in before Dia gets too strong. Prosthetic arms burst from his armor. They hover, spin, and form 6 arms behind him. Brat's bindings snap as Bundus reveals his Jinky, hands. He says he can't let them reach the trash beast's core before he does. Before the fight can escalate, the whole beast trembles. Its wings are opening. Bundus says the thing's getting ready to fly, meaning they're racing against time. As Dia falls, terrified, Brat grabs him midair and reassures him they'll get out with everyone. Dia comes down, but Bundus warns he's coming for his victory. Suddenly, a whole car drops from above and crashes into them. They all end up inside the car, screaming as it plummets toward a rooftop airway. Bundus panics and actually helps, smashes the window with a prosthetic arm and shoves the airway aside. Then, he yells at Brat to steer into a nearby pipe. Brat hooks Cross onto a post and swings the car into the pipe, where they unexpectedly find Engine and Fu inside. Everyone freezes in shock. Bundus asks why Fu hasn't beaten Engine yet. Fu whines that Engine refused to fight. Engine just shrugs and walks away to find his friends. Brat and Dia explain the situation. Seimu calls it an update. Engine explains they're inside the trash beast with Brat, Dia, and 2 enemies. Seimu tells them to just clean it, calls Engine useless for getting kidnapped, and says reinforcements are on the way. Cleaner trucks race out, one driven by Grizz, who's already fired up enough to crush the steering wheel. Back at Zodel versus Rudo, Zodel says every 6 years a trash storm comes, and today's the day Zodel wants Rudo to join him as a willing offering. Rudo was barely hanging on to a spike on the beast's back, overwhelmed. Zodel tells him the cleaners are insignificant. Rudo finally talks back. He says he named his gloves 3R after Reduce, Reuse, Recycle, something that had Cleaner taught him. Nothing is useless, not even trash, not even his past, not even meeting Zodel. And unlike Zodel, Rudo has people who cared about him, the cleaners, his friends. Zodel snaps and attacks, calling Rudo brainwashed and doomed. As he chokes him, Rudo calls him jealous. Zodel asks where his friends are. Right then, something rises from the beast's flesh, an umbrella. Engine bursts out, spinning upward with the Unbreaker. Flashback, Engine told Bundus he'd become the symbol that brings everyone together. Bundus mocked him.
Injin jumped into the pipe anyway, saying all that matters is pouring his energy into it. Brat and Dia followed because Injin's hunches are usually right. Bundus was horrified to learn they were literally trusting vibes. Back to now. Injin lands declaring bullseye. Rhea arrives carrying Zonka and dragging the two Santas. Brat reunites with Gita. Zodel is shaken seeing all the cleaners alive, but the beast starts lifting off. Zodel declares the experiment will reach its conclusion once they cross the border. The cleaners now have a time limit. Rudo rushes toward the core, same strategy as the field trip beast. He fires his nail gun, but before the nails hit, a hand swats them aside. Bundus climbs out of the hole Injin made earlier. He introduces himself again. He's still a Raider trainee, basically a rookie, and now he'll stop holding back. He sprouts even more hands, blocking Injin, Rio, Brat, Dia, and Rudo all at once. No matter where they move, a hand stops them. The cleaners try to rush past him, but Bundus blocks every angle. He asks if they can escape before reaching the border. Back outside, we briefly see Nirday being confronted again. She refuses to be done over her dead body. Inside, Rudo is locked on the core firing non-stop, but Bundus bats away every shot. Rudo is furious. Injin charges with his spiraling attack, but Bundus counters with hand number 3, gripping the Unbreaker mid-spin. Rio jumps in next, but her scissors hit something metal, and Bundus still has one hand left unused.
Bundus keeps blocking every cleaner with his different hands, each one tied to a different age in his life. He uses hand 6 on Rio, age 40, hand 2 on Brat Scarf, age 18, and hand 5 on Dear Santa, age 35. Brat can't believe this guy is still a rookie. Bundus is reading all their moves like a veteran. He glances at Gurika, wishing they could use her power somehow. Zodel watches calmly from the background. He trusts Bundus completely. Someone who's lived with his Jinky for decades is basically on another level. It's also rare to meet someone with multiple vital instruments. As long as opponents don't outsmart him, no one should get past him. Katoni shows up dragging Jabber, who's acting like he wants a do-over fight. Zodel decides it's time to leave anyway. Rudo tries to break through Bundus again, but Bundus slaps him into the floor. Rudo starts panicking. The trash beast is getting higher. How much longer before they cross the border and die? He sees Injin and Rio struggling too. How is he supposed to beat Bundus? Then Rudo looks at his gloves and realizes something. These aren't random trash. They're Recto's gloves, something precious he inherited. Their history matters just as much as Bundus' connection to his own parts. With that thought, Rudo suddenly powers up his Jinky and transforms his nail gun into a full-on cannon. Everyone is stunned. Bundus prepares all his hands defensively, calling Rudo reckless. Rudo doesn't care. He fires. Bundus actually catches the first blast, even though it sends him flying. But then Rudo signals and fires again. This second shot shatters Bundus' prosthetic arms. The old rookie stares at the pieces in shock. Those arms meant everything to him. But the shot missed the core and only hit the wall. A huge chunk of the cleaners groan. The aim was so close. Rudo collapses from exhaustion. Bundus sits on the ground, heartbroken over his broken arms. Zodel praises Bundus anyway. He's seen enough. The experiment is complete, the beast is rising, and they're leaving. Bundus pulls the shards of his arms back together with his Jinky, saying his prosthetics contain parts of every arm he's ever had. They'll grow back stronger. Rudo can't believe they're just walking away after all this. Zodel calls the cleaners test subjects and says everything went exactly as planned. If Rudo wants to rant, he should go destroy the core, though Zodel says it's too late. He and his team warp out using Katoni's ability. That's when Nirday emerges, furious, floating, and glowing with electricity. She's still hurt from Rio earlier, but she powers up past her limit. Sparks burn her clothes and hair. Nirday launches Last Burst, a massive lightning blast that fries everyone, including herself. The cleaners scream. Dia cries. Rio realizes Nirday's pushing herself beyond the point where she'll lose her hair permanently. Rio regrets not finishing her earlier. Then we switch to Fu, alone in a tunnel, sobbing because he thinks he's useless and got left behind. A voice snaps at him, his master, he, taking over through the choker. He tells Fu to switch out and let him handle things. Back in the beast, Nirday keeps electrocuting the cleaners, screaming for the trash beast to hurry toward the border. Everyone is collapsing. Rudo forces himself forward through the electricity, saying he can move because he has something important pushing him. Nirday freaks out. How is he still going? A cracking noise echoes. The wall Rudo's earlier cannon shot hit has started to break apart. Injin realizes the whole side might blow open, and it does. A huge chunk tears free and wind blasts inside. Nirday is swept away, manages to grab onto something, then loses her grip and gets carried out into the storm. Outside, while spinning through the air, Nirday has flashes of her childhood and her first meeting with Zodel.
She tries to warn him about something she sees past the clouds, a figure staring at her, but she vanishes into the storm before she can finish. Inside, the cleaners cling to anything they can. Rudo sees Nirday flying outside. Engine says they need to seal the hole or they'll be sucked out and die. Gurita casually wakes up from a nap, confused but fine. Everyone suddenly remembers, right, Gurita can't get blown away. When Rudo asks about her Jinky, they tell him to look again. Gurita spins in place and transforms into a giant kaiju using her huge body to block the entire hole. Crisis solved. With the wind sealed, Engine announces it's time to finish the job. They find the core, Almo's boots, and attack together. Outside, Zodel observes the fading storm. Bundus asks why this pseudo-trash beast was different from the others. Zodel says it contains the power of protection inside. Inside the beast, the cleaners destroy the core. The entire trash beast collapses, falling straight down. Gurita shields everyone with her huge fluffy body, and they land safely on disgusting mountains of garbage. They all complain about the smell. Rescue the Okels finally arrive. Delman yells at them for worrying everyone. Zanka and Rio get medical attention. Rudo crashes to the ground muttering that he needs sugar. Gris tries to talk to him, but Rudo just collapses. The support team discusses the damage. They wonder how many trash beasts the raiders have built. Gurita mentions she overheard someone say they tried making a Watchmen series copy, but it failed. Those failures turned into imitation trash beasts. Meanwhile, Zodel tells Bundus the experiment was a success because all subjects survived crossing the border. Bundus apologizes for assuming Zodel was strict, but Zodel says every failed experiment provides insight. He throws Bundus a gift, an Undertaker Canis Sirabek figure, as a reward for his promotion to the Raiders' front line. He's thrilled. His first mission? Find whoever created the chokers. Zodel believes the maker has a piece of the Watchmen series. The final scene shows Nirday's body found by another girl, likely Hio, and Zodel promises they'll gather every piece of the Watchmen series and then head straight for the sphere.
And that's the whole Trash Storm arc wrapped up. A lot went down, but it sets up some really big stuff for the future. If you want to understand the power system behind all these Jinkies and abilities, I've got another video breaking it down in a super easy way. Go check that out next, and I'll see you there.